You think you're good with money? You budget? You save? Maybe you even invest a little? But what if I told you that most people, including you, are trapped by invisible money illusions, and that these illusions are the reason you're still not wealthy? Sounds dramatic? It's not. In fact, once you see these illusions for what they are, you can never unsee them. So, what are these hidden beliefs and habits keeping you broke, even if you think you're financially smart? Chapter 1. The Hidden Cage. You wake up early, maybe before the sun. You brush your teeth, get dressed, maybe grab a quick coffee, and then off you go. Off to work, off to school, off to fulfill responsibilities. You do it without much thought, because it's normal. It's what you've always done, what everyone around you does. But have you ever stopped, really stopped, to ask why? Why are you running this daily race? Why does it feel like the finish line keeps moving? Why do you work so hard and yet still feel behind? Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're in a cage, but it's not made of steel or bars. It's made of beliefs. You've been trained since childhood to follow a certain script. Go to school, get good grades, find a safe job, work hard, save what you can, and one day, if you're lucky, retire. That script sounds logical, reasonable, even noble. But here's the twist. The script isn't designed to make you wealthy. It's designed to make you obedient. Because obedient people don't ask questions. They follow the plan. They stay busy. They don't make noise. And they rarely break free. The cage is mental. It's made of money myths, of financial advice passed down from generations who struggled, not because they were foolish, but because they were never taught the truth. You were handed the same script, and you accepted it, because no one showed you the alternative. But now, something's shifted. You're starting to see the cracks. The illusion of freedom that comes with a steady paycheck. The way your time is traded, not for life, but for survival. You're beginning to feel it, aren't you? The quiet itch inside. The whisper that says, there has to be more than this. And that whisper is right. There is more. But to find it, you have to step outside the cage. Not physically, but mentally. You have to challenge what you've been taught and start seeing money and your life in a different way. This is where it begins. The moment you stop running and start waking up. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Control. Most people believe they're in control of their money. They say things like, I'm careful with my spending. I budget every month. I know where my money goes. It sounds responsible. It feels comforting. But more often than not, it's just an illusion. Because real control isn't just about tracking your expenses. It's about understanding the system you're in. And most people don't. They think they're steering the ship, but they're really drifting, pulled along by invisible tides. Tides made of habits they didn't choose, ideas they never questioned, and beliefs they absorbed without knowing. You were probably told that being good with money meant one thing, spending less. So you clipped coupons, avoided luxuries, felt guilty for every little indulgence. But here's the truth that no one told you. You can be frugal and still be broke. You can budget perfectly and still never build wealth. Why? Because the game isn't just about saving. It's about positioning. It's about leverage, ownership, and value creation. None of which are taught in school. None of which come naturally from just being careful. The illusion of control is one of the most dangerous traps. It makes you feel safe, while you quietly sink. You tell yourself you're doing everything right. But if right isn't working, is it still right? That's the question most people avoid. Because asking it means facing a harsh reality. Maybe the rules you followed your whole life were never designed to help you win. Real control begins when you stop following blindly, when you stop trusting systems that weren't built for your freedom. It starts when you ask deeper questions, not how do I cut expenses, but how do I grow income, not how do I retire someday, but how do I design a life I don't want to retire from. True control isn't about managing scarcity. It's about creating abundance by thinking differently. And once you understand that, you'll never settle for the illusion again. This is how you begin to take real ownership, not just of your money, but of your future. Chapter 3. The Safety Myth. We're told that saving money is smart, that it's the responsible thing to do, that if you just put a little away each month, you'll be okay. You grow up hearing it from parents, teachers, even banks. Save for a rainy day. Keep money in the bank where it's safe. Don't take risks. And so you do. You build a savings account. You feel proud when the number grows. You think, I'm being smart. I'm doing the right thing. But what if that right thing isn't actually helping you? What if that safe little savings account, the one you protect like a treasure, is quietly working against you? Let's talk about inflation. It's not flashy. It doesn't crash your account. But year after year, it eats away at the value of your money. Slowly, silently. $10,000 today won't buy the same things in 5 years, or even 2. So while you're patting yourself on the back for saving, that money is shrinking. It feels safe. But that safety is just a feeling, not a fact. And here's the part no one tells you. Banks love when you save, because while your money sits still, they lend it out. They invest it. They multiply it. You take none of the risk and get almost none of the reward. Your savings account earns you pennies. Meanwhile, the system uses your money to build wealth for them. It's hard to hear because it goes against everything we were taught. But safety in this case is a carefully marketed illusion. True safety doesn't come from hiding your money. It comes from understanding money, from learning how to make it move wisely, from putting it into things that grow, assets, businesses, ideas. That doesn't mean being reckless. It means being educated, being intentional, playing offense, not just defense, because money, like water, needs to flow. If you lock it up, it stagnates. If you guide it, it grows. The world rewards those who make their money work, not those who just protect it. And once you realize that, the myth of safety begins to fall apart. You start to ask a better question. Not just, is my money safe, but is my money doing anything for me at all? Chapter 4. The Melting Ice Cube. Imagine holding an ice cube in your hand. At first, it's solid, cold, heavy. It feels like it'll last a while, but give it time, and it begins to melt, slowly, quietly. Drip by drip, it disappears, and before you know it, it's gone. This is what your money is doing. Right now, if it's just sitting in a savings account, untouched, unprotected, it's melting. You don't see it, because the numbers in your bank account stay the same. A clean, comforting balance. It feels like stability. But value and appearance are not the same. While your account says $10,000, the truth is, what you can buy with that $10,000 is shrinking every year. Groceries cost more. Rent creeps higher. Gas, insurance, healthcare, all inch upward. You're losing value without losing a cent. It's one of the cruelest tricks in personal finance. And it's not an accident. The system relies on inflation. It pushes people to spend, borrow, and keep working endlessly because holding money, saving it the safe way, slowly punishes you. But here's what's worse. You're not just watching your money melt. You're missing the chance to freeze it into something solid, something that holds value, or better yet, grows. Because while your $10,000 is shrinking, someone else is turning their $10,000 into ownership, into assets, into income. They're buying a rental property, starting a business, investing in a skill that pays them forever. And while their ice cube is being carved into a sculpture, Yours is turning into a puddle. But here's the good news. It's not too late. The melting slows the moment you act differently. You don't need to become a millionaire overnight. You just need to stop believing that holding is the same as protecting. Money is energy. And like any energy, it needs direction. Left alone, it fades. Put to work, it expands. So ask yourself, is your money sitting still, looking pretty but melting away? Or is it becoming something more? Because in the end, the difference between wealth and struggle might just be how you treat your ice cube. Chapter 5. The Missed Opportunity. Every day, opportunity walks right past you. Not with loud footsteps, not waving signs or shouting your name, but quietly, subtly, like a whisper in a crowded room. And most people, they don't even hear it because they're too busy clinging to what feels safe, too busy saving, but not growing. While your money sits in a bank, earning pennies in interest, others are using theirs to plant seeds. And those seeds are turning into trees. They invest in real estate, in businesses, in ideas that create income even while they sleep. And it's not because they're smarter or luckier. It's because they see what others don't. That money is not something to protect. It's something to activate. The missed opportunity isn't just about money either. It's about time. Because every year you wait is a year you can't get back. You see, wealth isn't built by chance. It's built by positioning. And positioning is all about timing. Start earlier, and you give your money more time to grow, more time to compound, more time to create momentum. But when you wait, when you tell yourself, maybe next year, you miss more than just numbers. You miss the window. And here's what's really tragic. Most people won't realize what they missed until it's too late. They'll reach retirement and wonder where all the time went. They'll wish they had started sooner. They'll wish they had taken a few more calculated risks. They'll wish they had understood the game. But wishing doesn't rewind time. So ask yourself, right now, in this quiet moment, what opportunities are you ignoring? What seeds could you be planting? Where could your money actually be working for you instead of sleeping? Because opportunity isn't always loud. It doesn't knock twice. And it rarely waits around. If you're always playing defense, you'll never score. And if you're always afraid to move, you'll stay exactly where you are. Wealth comes from seeing what others overlook, from acting while others hesitate, from choosing to plant even when the soil looks uncertain. So take a breath and look around. Because even now, opportunity is passing by. Will you miss it again? Chapter 6. The High Income Trap. You got the raise, the promotion, the new job with the impressive title and the six-figure salary. And it felt good, didn't it? Finally, your hard work was paying off. Finally, you could breathe a little. No more stressing over bills. No more saying no to every little thing. So, you upgraded. The apartment became a house. The old car got replaced. You started eating out more, traveling more, enjoying life more. And you told yourself, this is success. But something strange started happening. Despite the higher income, your bank account still felt tight. Your savings didn't grow the way you thought they would. You still lived paycheck to paycheck, just on a bigger scale. Welcome to the high income trap. It's the illusion that making more money automatically solves your problems. It doesn't. Because most people don't grow their wealth. They grow their lifestyle. And lifestyle creep is sneaky. It feels deserved. It feels natural. You work hard, so why not enjoy it? But here's the quiet truth. More income without discipline simply becomes more expensive habits. You're not building a foundation. You're building a fancier cage. And the saddest part, society celebrates it. You post your vacation pics. You drive the luxury car. You wear the designer label. But behind the scenes, you're still stressed, still overextended, still unsure if you can take time off, even for a week, without everything falling apart. That's not freedom. That's just a shinier version of the same struggle. The solution isn't to reject income. It's to use it wisely, to funnel the extra money into assets, not just comforts, to invest in things that pay you back, not things that fade with time. Because the goal isn't just to look successful, it's to be free. And freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from owning more, owning your time, your peace, your choices. So if you've leveled up your income, pause and ask yourself, is my lifestyle growing faster than my wealth? Because if it is, you're not escaping the trap. You're decorating it. Chapter 7. The Lifestyle Climb. Climbing feels like progress. Every new step, a better car, a nicer home, fancier dinners, feels like a reward. After all, isn't this the point? To work hard, earn more, and enjoy more? That's what we're taught. You climb higher, and life should feel lighter. But what no one mentions is how heavy the climb can become. With every step up, the pressure increases. Your mortgage grows, your expectations rise, your definition of normal quietly shifts. What used to feel like luxury now feels like the bare minimum. Suddenly, the simple things you once cherished, cooking at home, secondhand shopping, modest vacations, they feel beneath you, and you don't even realize it's happening. You start working longer hours, not because you want to, but because now you have to. You've built a life that demands more just to maintain the illusion of ease. And here's the strange part. From the outside, you look like you're winning. Nice things, big smile, a life curated for approval. But inside, you're tired, a little anxious, maybe even resentful. Because this lifestyle you've climbed into, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like obligation. And when something unexpected happens, a job loss, a market dip, an emergency, you suddenly realize how fragile it all is. One missing paycheck, and the whole thing wobbles. That's when you understand. Climbing isn't the same as rising. Climbing without purpose, without balance, is just expensive survival. True growth isn't about having more. It's about needing less. About building a life that feels good. Not just one that looks good. It's about choosing simplicity over show. Stability over speed. Freedom over frenzy. So take a moment and look at your climb. Are you scaling a mountain that leads to peace? Or are you racing up a hill built by other people's expectations? Because if the climb only adds weight to your life, if it demands more than it gives, then maybe it's not really a climb at all. Maybe it's a trap dressed up as success. And maybe the real flex is choosing to stop. Chapter 8. The Net Worth Wake Up. There's a number no one teaches you to track. Not in school, not at work, not even in most financial advice books. It's not your salary, not your monthly income, not your credit score. It's your net worth. Your net worth is the quiet truth. It's what's left when the lights go out, when the paycheck stops, when no one's watching. Add up everything you own. Subtract everything you owe. That number, that's the real measure of your financial health. And for many, it's a sobering wake-up call. Because you can earn six figures, drive a luxury car, and live in a beautiful home, and still have a negative net worth. Why? Because most people measure success by income. It's visible. It's shiny. It's easy to talk about at parties. But income is loud and temporary. Net worth is quiet and lasting. Your income pays the bills. Your net worth builds the future. And yet, we chase paychecks, not ownership. We celebrate raises, not assets. We focus on flow, not foundation. Here's what changes when you shift your attention. You stop asking, how much do I make? And start asking, what do I keep? What do I own? What can I count on when everything else stops? Because one day, the job might end, the economy might shift, life might surprise you, and when it does, the size of your paycheck won't matter nearly as much as the strength of your foundation. Assets don't get laid off. Passive income doesn't call in sick. A solid net worth buys you choices, time, space, freedom. So if you've never calculated your net worth, maybe now is the time. Not to feel shame, but to feel clarity. Because from clarity comes power. From power comes change. And here's the best part. You don't need to be rich to start building net worth. You just need to start paying attention. Track it, grow it, protect it. Because one day, when everyone else is asking, where did all my money go? You'll be the one sitting quietly, smiling, knowing exactly where yours is and what it's doing for you. Chapter 9, The Demonized Tool. For most people, the word debt brings tension. It's a red flag, a warning sign, a thing to be avoided at all costs. You're taught early on, debt is dangerous. Debt is irresponsible. Debt will ruin your life. And for many, it does. Credit card bills piling up. Student loans stretching into middle age. The weight of owing with no clear end in sight. So the fear makes sense. But here's the twist most people never hear. Debt is not the enemy. It's just a tool, like fire or a knife. It can destroy, or it can build, depending on who's holding it and how it's used. The poor and middle class are taught to fear debt, to run from it, to associate it only with pain and punishment. But the wealthy, they see it differently. They use debt to acquire assets, to scale businesses, to invest in real estate, to multiply their wealth faster than saving ever could. This kind of debt doesn't trap them. It frees them. They borrow against their investments, not to buy things they can't afford, but to create things that produce income. And then, that income pays the debt back, not their own time or labor. That's the difference. The average person goes into debt to consume. The wealthy go into debt to create. It's not about how much you borrow. It's about why you borrow, what the money is used for, whether it gives you power or takes it away. But because most of us were only shown the bad side of debt, we throw the whole tool away. We miss out on leverage, on opportunity, on the ability to grow faster than time would normally allow. This doesn't mean you should rush into borrowing or take wild risks. It means you need to reframe what you've been told. Debt isn't a monster. It's a mirror. It reflects the intentions behind it. So the next time you think, I'd never go into debt, pause. Ask yourself, is it debt you fear, or is it just the irresponsible use of it? Because when used with purpose, debt can be a powerful tool, one that, in the right hands, builds freedom, not fear. Chapter 10, The Rich Man's Weapon. Debt, when misunderstood, feels like a trap, but in the hands of the wealthy, it becomes a weapon. Not the kind that harms, but the kind that builds, quietly, strategically, one move at a time. While most people fear debt like fire, the rich study it. They learn to harness it, and they use it to create momentum that's almost impossible to achieve with just cash alone. Let's take a closer look. Imagine two people with the same $100,000. One uses it to buy a home in full, safe, secure, no mortgage. The other puts down $20,000 on 5 rental properties, using bank loans to cover the rest. One person owns a house, the other owns a small empire, collecting rent, building equity, multiplying faster. Same starting point. Very different ending. That's how the rich use debt. They don't just borrow, they leverage. They let the bank provide the capital, while they provide the vision. And in return, they keep the upside. It's not always flashy. It's not without risk, but it's calculated, intentional, controlled, and that's the key difference. Most people go into debt accidentally. They borrow to catch up, to survive. The rich go into debt on purpose, to expand, to build something bigger than their current resources allow. They understand that money has speed, and using other people's money, when done right, lets you move faster. That's why you see entrepreneurs using credit to fund new businesses. Why real estate investors build portfolios using loans. Why even billionaires borrow against their stocks instead of selling them. Because debt, in this context, is not weakness. It's strategy. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how much money you can control. And when you control more, you create more opportunities, not just for yourself, but for others too. This is the rich man's weapon, not a sword that cuts, but a lever that lifts. And the best part? You don't need to be rich to use it. You just need to think like someone who understands the game. Because once you learn to wield this tool, you'll never see money the same way again. Chapter 11. The Middle Class Fear. The middle class works hard. They play by the rules. They go to school, get a job, save for retirement. They do everything they were told would lead to security. And yet, deep down, there's fear. A quiet, constant fear of losing it all. It's not loud or dramatic. It doesn't scream. It whispers. What if I get laid off? What if the market crashes? What if I can't afford to retire? It's the fear of slipping backwards, of falling from the fragile balance they've built. Because middle-class life for many isn't rooted in abundance. It's rooted in maintenance. You make just enough to live comfortably, but not enough to stop working. You can afford nice things, as long as nothing goes wrong. That's why the middle class avoids risk. They cling to stability, to fixed incomes, to savings accounts that don't grow but feel safe. And most of all, they fear debt. They fear losing control. They fear making a mistake that could cost them everything. But here's what no one tells them. That fear is the very thing keeping them stuck. Because in playing it safe, they often miss out on the very opportunities that could lead to freedom. They say no to starting that business, no to investing in that property, no to trying something unfamiliar, even if it has potential. All because of that quiet voice that says, what if it doesn't work? And yet, that same fear isn't stopping the wealthy. It's not that they don't feel fear, they do. They've just learned to manage it differently. Where the middle class sees danger, the wealthy see leverage. Where the middle class sees uncertainty, the wealthy see potential. And that shift in mindset, it makes all the difference. Because staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but it often leads to stagnation. And over time, stagnation becomes struggle. So the real question isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I never try? The middle class fear is real, but it doesn't have to be permanent. It can be the signal that it's time to think differently, to act intentionally, to step slowly but surely toward freedom. Chapter 12. The Budgeting Obsession. There's a sense of control that comes from budgeting. A tidy spreadsheet, every dollar assigned, color-coded boxes showing exactly where your money is going, and for a while, it feels empowering. You track your coffee, you plan your groceries, you reduce subscriptions, cancel extras, and shave off every non-essential. At the end of the month, you look at your chart and think, I did it. I'm being responsible. But over time, something strange happens. You realize you're still stuck. You're still stressed. Still paycheck to paycheck. Still unable to get ahead. And that's when it hits you. Budgeting is good for managing scarcity. But it's not a tool for building wealth because you can only cut so far. There's a limit to how much you can save, but no limit to how much you can earn, create, or grow. The obsession with budgeting comes from fear of losing control, fear of not having enough, fear of doing it wrong. And so you try to control every penny. Every purchase becomes a moral decision. Should I get the latte? Should I go out to eat? Should I feel guilty? You shrink your life in the name of discipline. But the truth is, no one ever got rich by clipping coupons. Wealth doesn't come from restriction. It comes from expansion. That doesn't mean budgeting is bad. It has its place. It can help you become aware of habits. It can create structure when chaos reigns. But when it becomes your only strategy, when you believe the path to freedom is paved with denial and sacrifice, you're setting yourself up for frustration. Because budgeting is about preservation. Wealth is about multiplication. The people who break free don't just track what they spend. They focus on what they can build. They ask, how can I earn more? How can I create something that pays me again and again? How can I use my time and money in ways that grow, not just survive? So don't obsess over trimming every corner. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped shrinking your world and started expanding it? Because real financial power isn't found in the spreadsheet, it's found in the vision. Chapter 13, the $5 coffee distraction. They told you it's the coffee, that your daily $5 habit is the reason you're not wealthy, that if you just stopped buying lattes, you could retire early. That wealth is hiding in your morning cup. And at first, you believed it. So you stopped. You made your coffee at home. You brought your lunch every day. You skipped little pleasures. Not because you didn't want them, but because someone told you they were irresponsible. And yet, nothing really changed. You were still stressed about money, still behind on your goals, still waiting for your bank account to grow. And one day, you realized it was never about the coffee. The $5 distraction is one of the biggest lies in personal finance. It makes you focus on tiny expenses, things that bring you small joy, while ignoring the bigger picture. The truth? No one is poor because of coffee. People stay poor because they never learn how to grow income, build assets, or use their time wisely. But it's easier to shame small habits than to teach big strategies. It's easier to say, skip the latte, than let's build something that earns money while you sleep. And so we obsess over pennies. While ignoring the dollars, we sacrifice joy. While never addressing the real leaks in the boat, poor income strategy, lack of ownership, no leverage, no plan. It's not the coffee. It's the job that never paid you what you're worth. It's the time you spend surviving instead of building. It's the years lost to fear, hesitation, and financial misinformation. Of course, waste matters. Overspending matters. But cutting small joys won't build wealth. Creating value will. So the next time someone tells you to cancel your coffee, ask them what their income strategy is. Ask them how many income streams they've built. Ask them what they own that pays them. Because wealth is not built on denial. It's built on direction. And if a $5 habit is the highlight of your morning, don't let guilt steal that from you. Instead of cutting everything you love, start building something you believe in. That's the real path forward. Chapter 14, the income blind spot. Most people spend their financial lives looking in one direction, expenses. Where can I cut? What can I cancel? How do I live on less? They become masters of sacrifice, clipping coupons, tracking receipts, avoiding restaurants, skipping vacations. And yet, despite all the discipline, all the budgeting, all the effort, they still feel stuck. Because no matter how much they cut, they've ignored the one thing that matters most, income. It's the blind spot in most personal finance advice. We're taught to live within our means, but rarely taught how to expand them. And here's the truth that often goes unsaid. There's only so much you can subtract. But there's no limit to how much you can add. Income is infinite. There are countless ways to earn more. Freelancing, digital products, rentals, consulting, investing, partnerships, and ideas that haven't even been invented yet. But when your focus is stuck on saving, you don't see them. You're so busy managing scarcity, you forget to chase abundance. And over time, this mindset takes a toll. You start to believe that money is always limited. that life is a constant battle between joy and responsibility, that every dollar must come from sacrifice. But it doesn't have to be that way. When you shift your focus from how do I spend less to how can I earn more without trading more time, everything changes. You start to see money as a tool, not a chain. You begin to explore possibilities you once ignored. You become the creator of wealth, not just the protector of pennies. And most importantly, you buy back your most valuable asset, time. Because higher income, when built wisely, doesn't just mean nicer things. It means more freedom, more choices, more peace. So if you've been staring at your budget, worried about groceries and gas prices, try looking in a different direction. Ask yourself, how can I grow? What skill can I monetize? What value can I offer the world? Because cutting costs might keep you afloat, but increasing income is how you rise. Chapter 15, The Productivity Lie. You wake up early. You make a to-do list. You answer emails, check off tasks, attend meetings. You stay busy. You stay efficient. You stay productive. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted, but not fulfilled. You did everything right. You managed your time. You avoided distractions. You squeezed every ounce of energy into your schedule. But deep down, you feel like you're running on a treadmill. Lots of movement. No real progress. This is the productivity lie. The idea that staying busy equals being successful. That checking boxes builds wealth. That doing more automatically means you're getting somewhere. But productivity without direction is just well-managed stagnation. The world teaches you to work harder, to hustle, to grind. But it rarely teaches you to ask, is this even moving me forward? Most people work hard for someone else's dream. They build other people's empires. They solve problems they don't care about. They climb ladders that lead nowhere meaningful. And the saddest part? They're praised for it. We've confused motion with progress, efficiency with purpose, activity with freedom. But real wealth doesn't come from being the busiest person in the room. It comes from creating value, not just staying active. You can check off 100 tasks in a week and still be broke, still be stuck, still be far from the life you actually want. Because if your effort isn't building something you own, you're just renting your time. So what's the alternative? It's not about working less. It's about working on the right things. Things that scale, that compound, that grow even when you rest. Think systems. Think ownership. Think leverage. Ask yourself, am I building something that pays me or just keeping busy until I burn out? Because there's nothing noble about exhaustion. And there's nothing fulfilling about a full calendar with no meaning. So slow down. Step back. Look at the bigger picture. Productivity is only powerful when it's pointed in the right direction. Otherwise, you're just spinning wheels, faster. Chapter 16, The Myth of Hard Work. From the moment you were old enough to understand, you were told a simple truth. Work hard, and you'll succeed. And so you did. You showed up early, stayed late, put in extra effort, even when no one was watching. You took pride in your discipline, your grit, your hustle. And yet, success remained just out of reach. You watched others, maybe not as dedicated, not as tireless, rise faster, live freer, grow wealthier. And deep down, a question began to stir. Why isn't this working for me? That's the myth, the one no one dares to question. The myth that hard work, by itself, guarantees prosperity. But it doesn't. If it did, every factory worker, every cleaner, every farmhand, every single mom juggling 2 jobs would be rich. And they're not. Because hard work, while noble, isn't the full equation. It's a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole picture. Wealth isn't about how much sweat you pour into a job. It's about leverage. It's about how much impact you can create without being physically present for every dollar earned. The wealthy don't just work harder, they work differently. They build systems. They invest in assets. They create value that multiplies over time. They don't trade hours for income. They trade ideas for freedom. But here's the trap. Society rewards hard work publicly, and yet hides the truth about how wealth is really built. So you stay busy. You keep grinding, hoping your time will come. But in truth, your time won't come unless you change the way you think about time. Working hard isn't wrong, but working hard without strategy is like rowing a boat with no compass. Exhausting and aimless. So if you've been taught to keep your head down and hustle, maybe it's time to do the opposite. Lift your head, look around, ask different questions, build different systems, and understand that wealth isn't the reward for effort alone. It's the reward for thinking differently about effort, because hard work will keep you afloat, but smart work? That's what sails you forward. Chapter 17. The Power of Leverage. Imagine trying to lift a giant boulder with your bare hands. You push, you strain, you sweat, but it won't budge. Now imagine placing a long wooden beam under it, a solid rock beneath the beam, and you press down from the other end. Suddenly, with far less effort, the boulder moves. That's leverage, a small force, creating a big result. And in the world of money, leverage is everything. Most people try to build wealth the hard way, by trading time for money, 1 hour, one paycheck, over and over. It works, to a point, but it has a limit, because your time is limited. Your energy is limited. You can't outwork the clock forever. That's where leverage comes in. The wealthy don't just work harder. They find ways to multiply their effort. They build systems that work without them. They invest in assets that grow while they sleep. They hire others, use tools, automate tasks, all forms of leverage. And they understand this key truth. It's not about doing more. It's about achieving more, with less. There are many types of leverage. Time leverage, hiring help, outsourcing, delegating. Money leverage, using other people's capital to invest, grow, expand. Technology leverage, software that automates what once took hours. Content leverage, a single video, book, or idea that reaches millions. People leverage, teams, partnerships, networks that amplify results. And the best part, you don't need millions to start using leverage. You just need a shift in mindset. Start small. Automate a task. Hire a freelancer. Sell something digital. Buy an asset that earns while you rest. The moment you stop relying on only your time and energy, you begin to open doors. Because wealth isn't about working yourself to the bone. It's about using tools that do the heavy lifting for you. So ask yourself, what in my life or business still depends entirely on me? And then ask, how can I replace that with leverage? Because once you learn to apply pressure in the right places, the things that once felt heavy start to move. Chapter 18. The School to Retirement Pipeline. You were placed on a track before you even understood what tracks were. It began with a school bell. You learned how to sit still, how to raise your hand, how to follow instructions and meet expectations. Not how to think for yourself, not how to build, not how to manage money, create value, or own anything. You were taught how to prepare for a job, not how to prepare for freedom. And from there, the path was already laid out for you. Do well in school. Go to college. Get a degree. Find a good job. Work for 40 years. Save what you can. Retire if you're lucky. That's the pipeline. It sounds safe. It sounds predictable. And for many, it sounds like success. But let's pause for a moment. If this system worked so well, why do so many people reach retirement exhausted, in debt, and full of regret? Why do people spend the best decades of their lives working, only to hope for a sliver of peace in the final ones? Why is the path so linear, and yet so limiting? The answer is simple. The system was never designed to create owners. It was designed to create employees. People who follow rules, who wait for permission, who trade their time for security without ever asking if that trade is fair. You weren't taught how to generate income on your own. You weren't taught how to invest wisely or build assets. You weren't taught how to break the system, only how to fit into it. And the truth is, many never question it. They walk the pipeline quietly, step by step, until one day they look back and wonder, was that really the only way? But it's not the only way. Not anymore. Today, there are off-ramps. There are new paths built by creators, investors, builders, thinkers. People who realize the pipeline is narrow and the world is wide. You don't have to abandon everything overnight, but you can start by questioning the path you were handed. By asking, is this pipeline leading me where I want to go, or just where everyone else went? Because freedom doesn't begin with graduation. It begins with awareness. Chapter 19. The Matrix of Money. Most people live inside a system they never chose, a system that tells them what to do, how to think, and most dangerously, what to believe about money. It's invisible, but powerful. You can't see it. You just feel it. You wake up, go to work, pay your bills, try to save a little, and repeat, month after month, year after year. Until one day, you quietly wonder, is this really all there is? Welcome to the Matrix of Money, a set of unspoken rules and beliefs that keep people in financial survival mode. It teaches you that money is scarce, that risk is dangerous, that wealth is for the lucky, the brilliant, or the born rich. It conditions you to believe that a paycheck is security, that working harder means earning more, that buying nice things means you've made it. But none of that is truly real. It's just part of the script. Because while most people are following those rules, a small percentage are writing their own rules. They don't trade time for money. They trade ideas. They don't save to survive. They invest to grow. They don't fear money. They master it. And the biggest difference? They see the matrix for what it is, a designed environment, not a destiny. It's uncomfortable to accept. It means realizing that much of what you were taught about money was incomplete or misleading. But once you see the code behind the system, you start to wake up. You begin to question, why do I believe money is hard to earn? Why do I fear investing? Why do I feel guilty wanting more? And in those questions, you find your freedom. Because awareness is the first key. Not more work, not more budgeting, not more discipline. Just waking up, seeing the system clearly, realizing you're in it, but you don't have to stay in it. You can unplug, relearn, rebuild, and most importantly, you can choose your own path. The matrix of money was designed to keep you passive. But now you're aware, and that changes everything. Chapter 20. The Comfortable Struggle. Not everyone is drowning. Some are floating, just enough to stay above water. They pay their bills. They go out to eat sometimes. They take a vacation every year, maybe 2. There's a little savings, a retirement account, a sense that we're doing okay. And that's where the danger lies, because it feels comfortable. But it's still a struggle. It's just a quiet one. A life where the pressure is manageable, but the freedom is missing. You can afford life, but not the life you really want. You go to work, not because you love it, but because you have to. You make just enough to stay where you are, but not enough to step into something greater. And after a while, you convince yourself this is normal. You say things like, at least we're not broke. At least we have a roof over our heads. At least we're better off than most. And maybe you are. But better off isn't the same as free. And surviving in comfort is still surviving. This is the comfortable struggle, the invisible trap that keeps people from growing. Because the pain isn't loud enough to provoke change. But the life isn't full enough to feel fulfilled. It's a life of muted dreams, plans delayed, risks avoided, potential left untouched. And it's easy to justify because you're doing fine. And fine is better than struggling, right? But what if fine is actually the most dangerous place to be? Because when you're broke, you fight. You look for ways out. You get creative. But when you're comfortable, you stop reaching. You settle. You adjust your dreams to match your income. And slowly, you shrink. You weren't meant to live a muted version of your life. You weren't born to just manage. You were meant to create, to expand, to lead a life that lights you up, not just one that pays the bills. So don't let comfort lull you to sleep. Comfort is not the same as freedom. Security is not the same as peace. And if deep down you know there's more for you, there is. You just have to be willing to leave the quiet struggle behind. Chapter 21, The Broke Rich Life. They look successful. The car is new. The clothes are tailored. The watch sparkles. The home, spacious, modern, decorated with taste. On the outside, it's easy to assume they've made it. But what you don't see is the credit card balances, the leased car, the second mortgage, the monthly payments stacked so tightly that one missed paycheck would unravel it all. This is the broke rich life, a life that looks wealthy, but isn't, a life designed for appearance, not stability. It's more common than you think, because in a world addicted to image, looking rich is often valued more than being rich. Social media made it worse. Now we don't just compare with neighbors. We compare with strangers on vacation, wearing luxury brands, living curated lives they may not even own. We buy things to project success, to feel a moment of status, to prove, maybe to others, maybe to ourselves, that we've arrived. But behind closed doors, it's often tight, stressful, one unexpected bill away from panic. And here's the quiet irony. The truly wealthy, they often don't look like it. They drive modest cars. They wear simple clothes. They spend less than they earn because they don't need to prove anything. Their wealth is real, not because of what they show, but because of what they own, what they've built, what keeps growing even when they're not working. The broke rich life is an exhausting cycle. Earn more, spend more, appear rich, stay broke. But it's a cycle you can step out of. It starts with redefining what wealth means to you. Maybe it's not the watch or the car. Maybe it's time, peace, options. Maybe it's waking up when you want, spending your days how you choose, knowing your bills are paid, not by your hours, but by the systems you've built. So pause and ask yourself, am I chasing the look of wealth or the reality of it? Because one lasts a moment, and the other a lifetime. Chapter 22, The Asset Shift. There comes a moment, quiet, often unremarkable, when someone stops thinking like a consumer and starts thinking like an owner. That moment changes everything. It's the shift from spending money on things that fade to placing it in things that grow. It's the asset shift, and it's one of the biggest mental leaps you'll ever make. See, most people are taught to value stuff. Buy the shoes, buy the car, buy the house, even if it owns you more than you own it. We're taught to reward ourselves with things that sparkle, things that impress, things that feel good in the moment. But assets, they're different. They're not always shiny. They don't always feel exciting. They might even seem boring, but they have something most purchases don't. Momentum. Assets don't just hold value. They create it. They pay you back. Over time. Over and over. A rental property. A stock portfolio. A small business. A digital product. Even your own skill set. All are forms of assets. They don't take money away from you. They send it back to you. But to get there, something inside you has to shift. You have to stop asking, what can I buy? And start asking, what can I build? What can I own? It's not always easy because the world rewards consumption. It celebrates the spender, not the investor. But if you want freedom, you must learn to value what pays you tomorrow more than what pleases you today. That doesn't mean you stop enjoying life. It means you become intentional, strategic, focused. You look at every dollar and ask, will this help me escape the cycle or tighten the chains? And little by little, as you choose assets over distractions, the shift begins. At first, nothing looks different. But then, you feel it. More space, more breathing room, more control. That's when you know you're not just making money anymore, you're building something. And that is the beginning of true wealth. Chapter 23, The Passive River. Most people earn money like carrying buckets from a well. Every day they go to the same place, draw the water, bring it home, use it, repeat. If they stop walking to the well, the water stops flowing. So they keep going, day after day, year after year. But somewhere along the way, a few realize there's a better way. Instead of buckets, they build a river. They invest time, energy, and money into creating something that flows, whether they show up or not. This is passive income, money that doesn't need you every day, money that works while you sleep, money that comes in without clocking in. It's not magic. It's not instant. But it's real. A book you write once that sells for years. A rental property that pays rent every month. A YouTube channel, a course, an app, a dividend stock. All quiet rivers flowing in the background. At first, the stream is small, barely a trickle. You wonder if it's even worth the effort. But over time, with consistency, learning, and patience, that stream widens. It grows stronger. And one day, you wake up, and the river is there. Money comes in, not from effort, but from ownership. It doesn't mean you never work again. It means you have options. You can say no. You can pause. You can breathe. Because now, the river flows, even when you rest. Most people never build it. They're too busy carrying buckets, too afraid to stop long enough to dig the channel. But those who do, they build freedom. Not because they're smarter, not because they're lucky, but because they chose a different path, a slower start for a longer payoff. So if you're tired of carrying buckets, if you dream of rest, space, peace, start building your river. It won't be fast. It won't be easy. But one day it will flow. And when it does, you'll never go back to the well again. Chapter 24. The Scarcity Illusion. From the time you were young, you were told a quiet story. There's not enough. Not enough money. Not enough time. Not enough opportunities. Not enough to go around. So you learn to hold tightly, to worry, to shrink your dreams just enough to make them realistic. You learn to say things like, I can't afford that. Maybe someday. Let's be practical. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began to see the world through a lens of scarcity. You started to believe that someone else's success meant less for you, that money was like a pie, and the more others had, the smaller your slice would be. But here's the truth that scarcity never wants you to know. Abundance is everywhere. There isn't one pie. There are infinite ovens. Money isn't running out. It's moving. And opportunity doesn't disappear. It evolves. The real problem isn't the lack of resources. It's the lack of resourcefulness. When you believe in scarcity, you don't create. You protect. You play defense. You hesitate to try, afraid it might cost you what little you have. But when you believe in abundance, you start to build. You explore. You give more, share more, grow more, because you trust there's more on the way. Scarcity is a mindset, not a condition. Some people have very little, yet live like they're full. Others have millions, yet feel constantly behind. Because abundance isn't about your bank account. It's about your perspective. Ask yourself, where in your life are you playing small out of fear? Where have you convinced yourself there's not enough, when in truth you haven't even scratched the surface? Yes, be wise. Yes, be intentional. But don't confuse fear with wisdom. The world doesn't need more people shrinking. It needs people expanding. People who believe there's room to grow, room to share, room to thrive. Because when you let go of the scarcity illusion, you stop surviving and you start creating. And in that space, abundance begins to flow. Chapter 25, The Mental Reset. Every financial breakthrough begins in the same place, not in your wallet, but in your mind. Because before your bank account changes, before your income increases, before you invest in your first asset, your thinking has to shift. That's the mental reset, a quiet rewiring of how you see money, work, value, and possibility. Most people never do it. They carry old beliefs like invisible luggage. Money is hard to get. I'm just not good with finances. Rich people are greedy. I'll always live paycheck to paycheck. They don't realize those thoughts aren't facts. They're scripts, passed down from generations, absorbed from culture, never questioned, just repeated. But the truth is, you can't build a wealthy life on a foundation of lack. You can't create abundance while still thinking like a victim. You can't grow if you secretly believe you're not meant to. So, something has to change. And it starts quietly, with awareness. Begin by asking, where did my beliefs about money come from? Who told me what was possible? And were they free? Were they wealthy? Were they fulfilled? If not, why am I following their blueprint? This reset isn't about blame. It's about clarity. It's realizing that the way you think about money was likely designed to keep you small. You were never taught to build wealth. You were taught to behave. But now, you're allowed to reprogram. You're allowed to believe that money can come with ease, that wealth can be ethical, that generosity and success can live in the same sentence, that your value isn't defined by your hourly wage. This reset doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, layer by layer, thought by thought. But each time you challenge a limiting belief, you reclaim a little more power. And eventually, you start to feel it, the shift, the expansion, the freedom to imagine more. That's when things really begin to change. Not just outside you, but inside. Because when your mind is free, your future follows. Chapter 26. The rewriting begins. For so long, you followed the script. You lived according to someone else's vision of success. You believed the story. Go to school. Get a job. Save. Retire. That was the path. That was the formula. But now, something has changed. You've started to see the cracks in that story. The parts that don't quite add up. The parts that leave you feeling unfulfilled, stuck, or worse, like you're running in place. And here's the truth that sets you free. You can rewrite your story. You can create a new script for your life, one that aligns with your own desires, your own goals, and your own definition of success. The first step in this rewrite, letting go of the old narrative. You have to stop believing that you're bound to a set of rules that don't serve you. You are not chained to the shoulds of society, the family expectations, or the cultural norms that tell you what your life is supposed to look like. You're free to write a new chapter. And the best part? You don't have to follow anyone's blueprint but your own. It starts with a shift in mindset. You must stop seeing yourself as a passive character in someone else's story. You are the author, the protagonist, the one who decides how the plot unfolds. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? What am I afraid to dream because it feels too big? The rewrite isn't about changing everything at once. It's about making small, powerful shifts, taking deliberate actions that push you closer to your truth. Perhaps it's investing in something new, starting a side project, learning a new skill, building connections with people who inspire you. Or maybe it's choosing to let go of something that no longer serves you, a toxic belief, a job that drains you, or a relationship that holds you back. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, about stepping off the old path and walking your own. And with each new page you write, you get closer to the version of yourself you've always known you could be. The rewriting has begun. The story is yours to tell. Chapter 27, Your New Reality. There's a moment right now when you realize that the life you once lived is no longer the one you must continue. You've spent years playing by rules that weren't even yours. You followed the map you were handed without asking if there was a better route. But now, as you stand at the edge of this new path, something feels different. You're not just dreaming anymore. You're ready to live differently. You've stopped being the passive observer and become the active creator of your life. This is your new reality. It won't happen overnight, and it won't always be easy. But with every choice, every small shift, you'll begin to see the change. The comfort of the old way starts to fade, and in its place, a new kind of confidence begins to grow. You've let go of the myths, the illusions, the chains that held you to someone else's idea of success. Now, you understand that wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom. Freedom to create. Freedom to choose. Freedom to live life on your terms. You know that building assets isn't about accumulating things, but about building systems that give you time and energy in return. You start to value yourself, not by how much you do, but by what you create. You no longer measure success by how hard you work, but by how much you enjoy your life. You understand that wealth is not the result of working harder, but of working smarter, with purpose and intention. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You stop doubting your ability to create something powerful and meaningful. You embrace the discomfort of stepping out of the old reality, knowing that it's the only way to step into something better. This new reality isn't perfect. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments of uncertainty, but you'll face them with a different kind of strength, one that comes from knowing your own power. You are no longer bound by the old script. You are the author of your own story, so here you are, on the edge of something beautiful. The journey is just beginning. Welcome to your new reality.